So, hello everyone. Thanks to this Friday. Thanks for attending this Friday's AMA. I am recording the session, so we're going to be putting it on available from the app. Today's guest speaker is Janette, who's a true chameleon. She's done quite a radical career transition, and she is here to tell us all about it. Take it away, Janette. Janine. Oh my God, sorry.
Do you want Janine or Janette?
It's hot in Melbourne. It's 20 degrees in my room. It's fried my head.
You've probably given Janette a poor heart attack here.
Yes.
Definitely.
Oh, hi, everybody. My name's Janine French. I am currently the Cybersecurity and Protective Security Cultural Development Uplift Lead at the Bureau of Meteorology, as well as the AWSN Chapter Lead, one of them here in Melbourne. So I've had a very interesting transition into cybersecurity. It wasn't anything normal, and it's not something that I woke up one day and went, "Oh, I want to be in cyber" at all. Back in 2019, I had a number of travel agencies that I was running. And my sad story is that I was one of those people that shared all my passwords and all my same passwords, and all my logins with everybody that I knew, loved, and trusted. And one of those people who was an insider ended up using those passwords for bad and not good. So I woke up one morning and my web designer had we'd had a falling out, and she decided to actually put some pretty nasty stuff up on my internet page about myself. Also sent that out to a whole bunch of my customers. And by 9 a.m. the next morning, my reputation was ruined and my business was dead. So I was just lucky that that all happened around about the same time that COVID hit. And while I was sitting back scratching my head and wondering what on earth I was going to do, my business was dead, COVID was happening, no one was flying, no one was traveling. I'd also started a marketing degree about 12 months before that. So I was halfway through that. And I was trying to, no one's going to actually employ people in marketing at this point either. A couple of times on the TV, up popped some opportunities for people in the travel industry to transition into cybersecurity. I knew nothing about cybersecurity, and that was the reason I was hacked. I thought that antivirus would actually protect me. I had no idea about anything else that went with cybersecurity. So I went, you know what? At the very minimum, I can teach myself about how my business, when I, eventually get it back up and running, if I get it back up and running, I'll be a little bit more safer and secure, and I might be able to market myself that way out there in the world. So off I went, and I worked with Institute of Data and UTS, and managed to get myself a Cert 4 in cybersecurity. Along with that, I started working at the ATO on the service desk, throwing myself, because I actually knew nothing about technology. So I threw myself into the service desk and learned all about the acronyms of the technology world and learned how to speak in acronyms. I know. And then from there, after a year of doing that, I decided, and I was ready to go out there in the world. And I had a little bit of a look around, and I ended up working for a company called Cinch Security, who is, as Fiona knows well, it's a cybersecurity company that's looking after small business, which was a perfect fit for me at the time. By working for a startup and a very small business, it gave me an opportunity to learn a lot about cybersecurity, because at the time I didn't really know. There's so many jobs and different titles out there. You don't know where you want to go or what you want to do. So I ended up being lucky enough to fall on my feet and work with them and learn a lot about different areas of cybersecurity. And what I worked out was my transitional skills from being a travel consultant, where I'm selling you a white sandy beach and a palm tree pretty much anywhere in the world. Yeah, exactly. So I was able to use those storytelling skills that I'd learned as a travel consultant, and then start to tell the story about cybersecurity and how I can make a difference in cybersecurity. Because let's face it, we've got a lot of technical people that don't know how to communicate with the non-technical people out there who know nothing in the world. So I'm kind of been lucky enough between all the jobs that built me to be able to get out there and be a security awareness trainer. So that's technically where I'm at the moment. I'm a security awareness trainer.
Storytelling is such an important skill.
Absolutely. And storytelling, it's one of those things. I had a lot of transitional skills that I didn't realize would really transfer into the tech world very well. However, it has. And it's actually been it's been a roller coaster of a couple of years. I've learned a lot. But that's my story. And it didn't quite go for the 15 minutes, but
No, I have many questions. So
yeah.
as a career transition, and I was talking to a young mentee about this who's working in hospitality in the kitchen, and she said, this isn't getting me anywhere. And I said, it's actually really setting you up very well for instant response because it's prioritization, calm under pressure, put up with people screaming at you, etc. So apart from storytelling, what skills have you transitioned over and found really useful?
Well, I've also got the incident response thing going along pretty well. And the reason is when things go wrong on your holiday, what am I doing? I'm 5 steps ahead of you. I'm thinking in front of you. I'm trying to put out all those fires that have been lit either behind you or in front of you, especially when people get caught up in things like tsunamis or wars or, their flights, even something as simple as their flights are not going for the next however long because they've been caught up in Jetstar not flying or, all those fun things there. So definitely I would have to say that I do have, can turn things on very quickly for incident response. So I've got the incident response, I've got storytelling. I've got the ability to now, what can I say? I can turn things around very easy, and I have a very calm demeanor when it comes to things going wrong as well. So
very important. It's very, very important. Yes.
Absolutely. So when things are going wrong, I'm not all fussed and phased by it because I know that this too shall pass. And maybe that was because of all the legal drama I was going through at the time, or maybe it was, because of, my skills in the industry.
The experience.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Life experience and everything that you do leads you to this path. Like I never ever started off. I started my whole career. I went to uni back in the day and I did accounting. And I lasted 3 weeks on the job. 3 weeks. I hated it so much. I went and became a flight attendant. I couldn't fly though.
A terrible job for you.
It was absolutely shocking. Hated every minute of it. I was not that insular person, and I worked out really quickly. And that's what I sort of went, I don't know how I'm going to go in tech because I am not insular. I'm a very outgoing, I'm going to tell you everything and tell you how it is. And I'm not that person that sits in the corner, but those people need us people. And that's the thing about it. Like I balance everything in tech world. And there's a lot of us that are out there that have the ability to balance the tech world. Yes. So yeah, that's very important. Then from being, I might add, from going to uni, lasting 3 weeks on that accounting job, I went and became a flight attendant. But I couldn't fly because I get severe motion sickness, and I discovered that on the job. So that was up in the air as well. It's like, well, what do you do next? So I moved into reservations, but I became quite resilient from all these no's that you get. You eventually get a yes, or you eventually find your spot in the world or where you're meant to be and what you're meant to be doing. And I think that that's really important for people. You've got to have a lot of no's before you get that yes, because those no's are training you that the yes is coming as well. So when you are trying to transition, you do get a lot of no's. It's hard to hear, no, somebody with more experience got the job, or no, you weren't quite the right fit, or no, the culture's not for you here, or there's a lot of those no's that go on, and you've got to turn those no's into
one yes.
Yeah, just one. And that's a great hashtag. Just one yes is all it takes. And then once you get that yes, you've got the first stepping stone into the next part of your career, and you'll eventually find where you're meant to be. I wasn't meant to be the accountant. I wasn't meant to be the flight attendant. I wasn't even really meant to be in res at Ansett, because Ansett ended up collapsing on me. It was an airline that failed, let's face it.
Yes.
But
Yes.
got me into travel, and then from there I built some very successful travel career. And then when that door shut, it's like, what are you going to do next? Resilience is key, and I think that that's definitely something that you can move forward with.
Absolutely. Now, how would you describe a normal, just an ordinary, typical day in your job to help others from
Okay,
avoiding a job that they hate and leaving within 3 weeks?
With what I do, there isn't actually a normal, typical day. Unfortunately, I work for federal government, so nothing is normal and typical where I am. Everything works at a very slow pace, but there's a reason behind it. There's a reason behind everything. But following the ability to follow framework and procedure is something that, if anybody's looking at getting into government, especially into cyber, being able to follow, have some knowledge of Essential 8, have some knowledge of the PSPF, which is the protective security framework that is out there. But my day starts with me reading emails, putting together a bit of L&D. So I do a lot of work with the L&D team in building our learning and development out there. We've got something going at the moment called the Cultural Uplift Plan. So working a little bit on the Cultural Uplift Plan during the day. Always checking out security threats and alerts. I'm always across the security threats and alerts, because there might be a quick win out there that I can teach somebody, don't click on that link. Don't read that QR code. Just think about what you're doing. So getting something like that out there is also another thing in my day. I do a lot of articles for the internal news. So working with a lot of internal stakeholders is what I do.
Bit of writing skills?
Sorry?
Interpretation and writing skills?
Absolutely. Interpretation and writing skills, very important. And the ability, again, going back to that storytelling, making it in a way that people can understand because a lot of people come to me to write their pieces for them at the Bureau. Yes. So I will be a lot of the time writing a lot of information for people in a way they can understand it, and in a very short, sharp moment, because I've got that much time to, get their attention. There's a lot of
in a way that somebody will actually read it.
Yes, and that's true too. Like I sit amongst, there's a lot of news out there at the Bureau, so I've got to, cut through all the news that's out there as well, and make sure my piece is really interesting to a lot of people, and finding new and exciting ways to capture people's attention. Anything from a lunchtime trivia event through to, here's how I'll hack you, or, coming up with a meme. So being quite creative in my role is really important as well.
Some of your marketing background will be coming in there, some of your marketing training.
Absolutely. And I do a lot of A/B testing as well. So if this doesn't work, we're going to try this and see if this lands a bit better with them. So it's more than just, here's a phishing program and running with phishing. So especially where I am. So yeah.
So what sort of personalities would suit your job? So it sounds like it's more towards the more extroverted side.
I would say people that are a little bit more extroverted would certainly suit my role. Somebody who understands tech enough to be able to decipher it, but doesn't necessarily want to work down in the weeds with it. Somebody who has the ability to communicate, and understand and listen. Listening's a big part of my role, because you're having to, decipher what you're trying to say and get out there. So definitely, I think they're probably the key things. The ability to deal with everything with a smile as well, a smile and a cheeky grin, and we'll get through it. Very, very important in my role as well.
The sky isn't falling. It will be okay. Yeah,
exactly. We're going to be okay. Let's just find out a way. Because one of my other jobs is, running those tabletop exercises as well. So keeping you cool, calm and collected, even though the sky's not falling in, no one else does. So trying to keep it together for everybody is good too.
I did a lot of on-call work, and the worst thing you can have in an emergency is people panicking, because then it diverts your energy and your time into just calming them down. So
absolutely.
Them. Yes.
Absolutely. Quietening the mind is very important. I do a lot of other things, I suppose, at the Bureau as well. I do run, meetings, a lot of meetings and bringing in guest speakers. So it's always sort of mining for somebody to come and have a conversation or opening, that particular door and, seeing if we can work together and try and unsilo ourselves, because a lot of roles, especially in security, are siloed. So you're trying to build those bridges between the silos and get people to have conversations.
So are you in a team or are you working, you're a bit of a solo?
I am one solo person within a team, so I sit within the GRC
Yes.
team. So we report directly to our CISO, and then I sit in a team of 10 of us. Yeah.
So a bit of ability to self-manage would be important for me too.
Very important to be able to self-manage yourself and find things to do with your time. Not that there's ever a dull moment. The ability to work with other teams as well, where you don't necessarily understand their role or what they're doing, and being able to bridge that gap is probably important as well. Finding some common ground within your roles because you are part of that team together. So that's another good thing.
Let me see. Some final questions. So how open is the Bureau to flexible working arrangements? So are you working
Funny you
remotely
ask.
now?
At the moment, we're a 3 and 2 in the office. However, that will be decreasing. But we've got an EBA going through at the moment. So they're in the middle of discussions. And that's a whole of federal government bureau related stuff. So they're actually quite open to flexible working hours, which is awesome. But it's an each to their own basis now. So you have to negotiate with your manager. And look, some roles, especially in our office, can't be done from home. It's one of those things. We deal with a lot of sensitive information. Also, another thing, I suppose it's important, job specific, of course, but you do need to be able to get your security clearances. If you should need a security clearance for your role, you will need to do that if you're looking at somewhere federal.
Citizenship?
Very important.
Very important.
Look, there are a few exceptions, but majority of the rule, citizenship's pretty important.
And any final words of advice for young mentees out there?
My final words for
mature
advice.
mentees.
Well, I am a mentee. I guess my final word of advice is just not give up and not just leave yourself with one mentor. Go out there and find a bunch of mentors, because I firmly believe that you can get a lot of information from a lot of people, and each one of those is going to give you something. So don't be switched off. Don't turn around and look at people's profiles and go, oh, you know what? I don't think I suit them, because you might. So just because they've written it down on their mentor sheet is probably, not the case of what they can offer you. Everybody can give you something. So don't give up. Keep knocking on the doors and making lots of those friends. It's a small enough network that someone knows something to give you something back. So don't give up.
And even if it's just a one-off conversation about what their job involves.
Absolutely.
So you don't end up as an air hostess that can't fly.
It's career killing for most people, but opportunity. The thing about that was I had done really well in the theory. So they're like, you've obviously got an aptitude for travel, so we're just going to move you into the reservations department. So I went from Kendall Airlines, which was a small CRJ 52-seater at the time, to being sitting in an office and, booking lots of business travel. So, and that was fun too. It was a great team, and teamwork, it makes the dream work. It really, really does. So I was better doing that than handing out coffees on a plane. Well, throwing up in the back of the plane, because I was on my it was my trainer, and it was like I made 3 flights up, because the CRJ, I know we're diverting you, but the CRJ, the plane is constantly on an ascent and a descent the whole time, because it was Launceston Melbourne flights. So I was constantly going up and down and up and down. And on the 4th flight, I started throwing up, and I had 9 in a day to do. And she's like, "Oh, sweetie, this job's not for you."
No, that is not a good look when the air hostess is.
Yeah, no, you don't want your air hostess throwing up the whole entire way. It's not the good look. So, and making that call, being brave enough to go, you know what, you're probably right. Let's find something else to do. So if something's not working, move. find
That
something.
is another very, very good piece of advice. If your gut is telling you that you loathe your role and it is not for you, don't just stick it out. It's soul destroying.
Absolutely. You don't need to stick out a job that isn't right or doesn't feel right. Or if you're getting up in the morning and you go, I can't do this, I can't go into work that day, don't be afraid to quit and find something that suits you better. There is that role out there, and it might take a little bit of digging, and you might have to be a little bit resilient to those no's that we were talking about before. But somebody will definitely have you. You've got a skill that someone needs.
Yes. And talking to mentors is the perfect way of finding out those roles. That was my
Absolutely.
little segue. Did you like that?
I did love that. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Me trying to improve my sales skills. Well, Janine, my darling, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think it'll be really helpful for
It's been my pleasure.
yeah, when we put it up.
I need to get my story out to more people, because I think that people, especially when you're going into sort of a more mature age and you think that you can't, or no one will take you because you're getting to that older stage in life,
Yes.
it's not the case. People will have you because they actually do value what you've done in your life and your life experience to get you where you are. So it's
Absolutely.
really important. I think that story will resonate with a lot of people. And don't be stupid. Don't hand out those passwords and logins to everybody.
Well, you learn from your mistakes, and
Oh,
when you get knocked down, you get up again, as
absolutely.
song goes.
Absolutely.
Okay, from our lovely team, does anyone have any questions of Janine? Nope.
Yeah, I do. I'm just wondering how responsive your day is to events, like whether it's Optus going offline for whatever reason, or something like solar winds or other kind of just crises in the ecosystem. Is your day something where you kind of looking through a whole year, you go, yeah, that's my year, we pretty much went to plan, or is a lot of it in response to situation?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking. I guess for me, I sort of sit outside of that. So I set it up that let's see how things run, but I don't necessarily have to be the runner per se, because we've got a lot of incident response teams at the Bureau. So I sit on the outside and I go, right, how can we make things better, or what can we learn from what we've done? But I don't necessarily have to be the person that's running it per se. So I'm lucky in that respect. But there's always, whenever we run like an incident response or a tabletop exercise, or when we've got something going on, there's always a lesson to be learnt from it and how we can do it better or how we can improve for next time. And then my part of it will be going out and distributing the communications for how we're going to do it better and what we're going to change and what things, and making it again easy and simple and incremental for people to learn very quickly. Part of my role is changing human behavior and trying to get that human behavior mindset changed. Is a hard thing itself. It's so easy for people to listen to people on the phone and go, I've got to do this now, right? I'm doing it now. Because, let's face it, that's how hackers work. They work in the moment, they work very quickly. So changing those human behaviors of people, and whether it be in an incident response program or just something that we're trying to teach people with an incremental action, and it also depends on the maturity of, where you're working as well and how mature that particular organization is.
I think that's important. I just think you've raised something really, really quite interesting there, and that is, if you're in a building and you say to people, okay, if there's a fire, do this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. If there is a fire, none of them will do it, because that only comes from training. It doesn't come from just knowledge. So it seems to me the essential 8, there should be like some interactive thing where people can just go through, like, what's the term? Kinesthetically engage with the essential 8, so it embeds it deeper. I think you've raised a very interesting point here. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, my suggestion would be, because hackers, as you said, they are very, very psychologically manipulative, and they're very clever. And they do that combination of a bit of authority in the voice. They do the, there's always a time element. You've got to do it now. there's a threat or bad things happening, is to have a few of those phone calls, so you're aware of the feeling, and then it makes it easier to recognize it when it's happening in real life.
Oh, absolutely. And we work a lot on that. So I do a lot of real time scenarios that aren't real time, but, dropping some USBs on the floor and seeing, loading them up with a program. So when somebody puts them into their computer, they get caught, So definitely, finding different ways to teach people the no's of the world, what we shouldn't be doing, and incrementally and slowly and in tiny, tiny actions is the way to go. And so you are prepared. So when you get that call, it's like, bang, yeah, I know I've got it.
I just had a vision of you hiding behind a desk and jumping out and someone picks up a USB stick.
I don't need to. I don't need to do that. I do have a little thing that I put on people's computers when I walk past their computers and they haven't locked them. I do have a little, it's like a meme that I've printed out. It's laminated. It looks gorgeous. And I sit that on their computer. So it's like, yeah, you really, that 3 seconds that you saved, well done. It's like,
I worked in an IT department, and if you did that, someone would get on your computer and change your screensaver to something very embarrassing.
Yeah, we can't touch
their kittens or something.
So this is the best I can do. All I can do is my little laminate, but it works. They get the message. You walk past their computer a day later, and they're starting to lock it again. So it does work. Bit of a gentle reminder.
Yes, right. On that note, I shall let you all get back to your Friday afternoon. Thank you again, Janine. It's been a blast.
Oh, let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Bye, everybody.
See you, everyone.